Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you once again, live on a Sunday, recorded on a Monday, and whenever you so desire.
Yeah.
Bring you the latest and greatest in haunted attraction news and infotainment.
Sounds reasonable.
Take a moment. If you have not done so, check us out at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. And you can join us Sundays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, facebook.com/hauntweekly. Catch the live podcast. Be a part of the show. It's a lot of fun. Or at least a modest amount of fun. Maybe a lot is overselling it. But any way the wind blows, please join us live. We love having you here in the chat. We love having you participating.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, indeed. Crystal, I believe, is putting the question of the week into the chat for us.
Already done.
Already done. Well, excellent. Because this week we are taking a look ahead to explore the 2021 haunt season. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Mostly bad and ugly, unfortunately. But we're going to do our best to leave everyone on an upbeat note, as we usually try to do. We try to end these podcasts on an upbeat note. Send the people home happy, we say.
Yes.
We're going to try to do that again this week. So stay tuned. Stay with us. I know it's going to be a heavy episode in a lot of ways. But if you bear with us, you may walk away with some reasons to be hopeful. Maybe. Well, we've got a lot to get through this week, and one of the first things we have to get through is a non-housekeeping note.
Yeah.
I want to talk honestly to the people listening to this podcast right now and talk about something that happened to us over the past week and remind everyone to be security aware.
Yes.
The long story short, too late, is someone tried to break into our haunted house's Venmo over the past week. Now, we have a Venmo account, and we do use it for some personal things. I'm not going to pretend like it's just our haunted house Venmo. But the primary use, the most money that moves through it, is during haunt season. We have the little barcodes up. People can scan them and send us money. And it's a way for people to donate that don't have cash. And we've used it over the last couple of years. Granted, like I said, we've had a rough couple of years here, but 2018 we used it to great effect.
We did.
I would say about half to two-thirds of the money we raised for ourselves came from there.
Yeah, and people were really happy that they didn't have to remember to bring cash.
Yeah, we have a really kick-ass donation box with skeletons like all in it and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's one of the favorite things I've ever built in my life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we put up the QR codes for the Venmo and for the PayPal, and a lot of people took advantage of them. I think we about doubled our donation. Still wasn't enough to turn anything that would be remotely considered a profit.
Right.
But we got a lot more in donations, so it was really great to have it. But still, this week I got an email that someone had entered our Venmo, but was unable to access it because of two-factor authentication. That they failed the two-factor test. And therefore, ipso facto, our account was still secure. So this is a reminder, and I hope it's one that's useful to you. Check the security of your electronic stuff real fast. So let this be a reminder, as it was for me. I spent most of the day Friday going through and taking care of accounts that had insecure passwords. I have a password manager. So the manager, and the one I use is Bitwarden, but they all have this feature, whether it's 1Password, whether it's LastPass, whatever, it doesn't matter. They all have the same feature where you can see the passwords that are insecure. They've either been pwned by someone else, or they're just weak, shitty passwords, whatever the reason. And I've been changing them, and I've been deleting accounts we don't use and updating passwords on accounts I do use. It took about 3 hours to do and really ruined my fucking afternoon on Friday, but it made us so much more secure. So here's the thing. Take a moment, whenever you get a chance and check your passwords. You can do that on the site haveibeenpwned.com. That's haveibeen, B-E-N, P-W-N-E-D.com. And what you do is you enter your password, just the password, no username, no email, and it searches database, it hashes it and searches the database for anywhere on the dark web that password appears. And so if your password sucks and it appears in lots of different places, they'll let you know and you can get a chance to change it. And what I would do, honestly, what I'm going to do, I haven't done it yet, is enable notifications for your relevant domains. So, yourhaunt.com, whatever.
Right.
Enable those notifications. Will let you know if those have been cracked or hacked or otherwise violated.
Good information. Important.
It's good information. And realistically, every business should be doing this. But I know in haunted attractions, since we are a seasonal industry, we tend to forget about these passwords. We forget about these accounts for 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Now is a great time to remember them.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to have to do the same thing with my accounts to go through and make sure, because I know at least one of my things doesn't have two-factor set up, so I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, so basically what I'm trying to tell y'all to do, basically get on there, check those passwords, make sure they're good. Don't reuse passwords. This was my personal bad habit that I have now broken myself free of by doing this. I don't have any reused passwords that I'm aware of. And if you can turn on two-factor authentication, please, please do. I know it is inconvenient. I know it is annoying. You have to wait for the text message or to get that code from the app or whatever. But it is so worth it. As we discovered our Venmo, that was the only thing that stood between us and our accounts getting fucking drained via Venmo.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
So two-factor authentication, please, 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 please turn it on if you at all can. Be secure, be smart, don't be the dumbass that I was. Be the dumbass I am today. Much smarter, much wiser, and having spent way too much of my life changing the passwords and deleting accounts. I don't recommend anyone go through what I went through, but I had to clean up like 10 years of bad behavior. I think that's about right. 10 to 15 years of bad behavior. Don't be me. If you do it sooner, it's less time, it's less annoyance, it's less energy, and it'll make your cybersecurity much better. That sound about right?
Yeah, it does.
All right. So with that out of the way, because I wanted to get that first and foremost, so if anyone tunes us out when we get depressing later, they'll at least get the important stuff.
Right.
I felt that was like super urgent to get in.
Yeah.
But first things first, I do want to revisit last week's question of the week, because we asked a good question and we got some great fucking answers.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed about the last 2 weeks with the question of the week is that there have been conversations started in the comments. Not just people posting their answers, but talking to each other. And I love that. So thank you for participating in that.
Yeah. And it's what usually happens is we do this live on Sunday, Haunt Weekly, Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. And then we post the recorded episode, HauntWeekly.com, the next day on Monday. And then Wednesday, I post the question of the week on our Facebook page. Once again, Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. And so the result is, on that one, on the Wednesday one, we often get great conversations. And I want to encourage that and reward that. So it's part of what we're doing today.
Right.
But we do listen and read all the comments we get. We're not a big podcast. We don't want to be a big podcast. And part of the reason I don't want to be a big podcast is because I want to read every comment we get. So I appreciate getting the word out, but I hope we don't grow too big.
Yeah.
So anyways,
last week's question
of the week was, what is the most surprisingly expensive item in your haunt/house? And you actually posted the wrong question of the week. I just see that in the chat. You posted the previous week.
Oh.
So, sorry, Pete, you're answering the wrong question in the chat. I appreciate your answer, but it is not the correct question of the week. No. That was the previous question of the week, and we had a lot of great answers to it. Chad Smith on YouTube, I think, may have given my favorite answer. He said fire retardant. And I agree. And I agree with that question so much because we've made our own homemade fire retardant.
Yes, I learned how at a
HauntCon,
HauntCon one year.
Talk. We learned how to make it. We got the ingredients together, and it works like a charm for next to no money. And for us as home haunters, that's great. Our stuff is fire retardant to a very high degree. Will not take flame after 60 seconds. We have tried to burn our haunt down multiple times and failed.
We've tried it on paper, and it makes paper not burnt.
Yeah, and it's amazing stuff. But here's the thing. If you run a pro haunt, you don't get to do that a lot of the time. You have to go to professional companies that sell the stuff in like 5-gallon or 50-gallon drums, 5-gallon or 50-gallon drums, and it is silly expensive and silly time-consuming to apply. And the reason for that isn't because that stuff works better than what you can make at home, but it's for legal protection. That way, if a fire does break out, you have someone you can sue and blame. It's all about shifting that legal responsibility, and Chad Smith is right. That shit is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Multiple hundreds of dollars for a drum, and it is, considering that I could make a drum of it for probably less than $50.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable, right?
Yeah. Well, 5 gallons is about $5.
Yeah, so a big 50-gallon drum of it would probably be about $25.
Yeah.
I can make it for a pretty reasonable amount, but I don't get to sue anybody other than my dumb ass if it doesn't work.
Right.
But it's gonna work because it is amazing what you can do with that homemade stuff. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, if you are a pro haunt and you are working with professional insurers, they are going to demand it, and it is stupidly expensive. I agree.
Yeah. Other answers were Don Oliver on Facebook said 2 storage buildings. Chris Gay and a few other people chimed in with something similar.
Yeah, I forget how expensive storage buildings are. Granted, it's not inside your haunt, which is why it's kind of...
It's still property. It's still haunt property.
Part of it. It
yeah.
can be on the property. That's fair, too. But no, I did like that answer because storage buildings are stupid expensive, especially to get them built on your property.
Yeah, and how many times have we struggled with storage and finally found something that kind of sort of works?
Oh, we're still struggling with that. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Kind of sort of works.
Well, you know.
Jerry Ferraccio?
Yes.
I've never said that out loud. On Facebook said projectors, he owns 5 of them. And I get why that might be surprisingly expensive because it seems like to most people projector prices have come down. Like it's now getting silly expensive. You can go to Home Depot and get a projector for like $60 or whatever. And yeah, I'm going to do that. But I also happen to watch Linus Tech Tips and other tech channels. Mm-hmm. And one of the stupid things they do on that channel is they try repeatedly, for reasons I'm not clear on, to replace a perfectly good TV with a projector. Which, why you would do that in your home or living room, I don't know. Like a 75-inch TV runs you something like $1,200. But a projector that can compete with that on terms of, you know, size and fidelity and everything is like $25,000 or $28,000. It's kind of bananas. So why you would do that in your home, I don't know. But haunts have different needs. So if you need those super high quality projectors, yes, they are ridiculously expensive. I agree completely.
Yes, and finally, Halloween Haunts 365 on Facebook said, "My real Freddy glove."
And I include that one because I think it's awesome you have a real Freddy glove. Mm-hmm. But I also docket points. I'm playing Taskmaster here now. Because if you told me this was a real Freddy glove, like a prop from a movie, I would actually anticipate it being fairly expensive.
Right. But if it looks like all of the ones that are sold in the stores...
I might not believe it.
Yeah.
Good point. But yeah, I mean, if you told me, oh yeah, this is from one of the movies, I'm like, well, yeah, of course it's fucking expensive. Duh. But anyways, this week's question of the week is far less fun and entertaining. It is downright depressing. The question of the week, how has the re-emergence of COVID impacted your haunt plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I made myself sad.
Yeah.
Because we have to get into our answer of it.
Right.
And we usually hear, we have witty banter as we go back and forth and talk about how we disagree on the question and blah, 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 you're wrong, no, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah.
Just different answers, not necessarily,
But usually there's witty banter here, and there's no witty banter incoming.
Well, no, and we've spent a lot of today talking about the upcoming haunt season.
Issue. And basically for us, we have paused our plan.
Yeah.
And the reason is we have to wait and see if the city takes further restrictions. We are located within Orleans Parish, which means that we are within the city limits.
Right.
And the city has already reimposed mask mandates, and the state has done so too now, actually. So it's both the city and the state on that one. We are a hair away, I think, from seeing crowd restrictions and things like that. So we are kind of biding our time and waiting to see what the city does.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking about is that a portion, a large percentage of the people that come through our haunt are too young to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
It hasn't been opened up to them, so it's...
Yeah, I would say about 35 to 45%, slightly less than half, basically, is what I'm trying to hit at, are under the age of 13.
I think it's a lower percentage than that, but it's still ballpark. Yeah,
it's a problem.
Yeah,
and so we already had,
and it's not their fault they can't get it. They just haven't.
They just can't. And the really bad part is this: when I wrote these notes the first time, there's been 2 passes on these notes now. I wrote, "We already had our first festival cancellation."
Yeah,
because it was. The New Orleans Bourbon Festival was supposed to take place August 18th, I believe, through the 21st. They pushed back until March 2022. Basically, the reason for that was city officials were requiring that attendees and vendors both either prove they had been vaccinated or they present a negative COVID test within the past 72 hours. The organizers sent out a survey and found that about half of the people who were planning on attending otherwise, like they were already on the newsletter, said they would not attend. Now, I suspect we might have a vocal minority on that one, given the current vaccination rates in New Orleans, but they were not comfortable opening with the response they were getting.
Yeah.
And then, after I wrote that, I'm like, well, that's one canary in the coal mine, da-da-da-da-da. Then, like mere hours after that, as I was still working on the notes, Jazz Fest was canceled. And anyone who knows anything about New Orleans festivals know what a big deal that is.
Yeah.
Because Jazz Fest is the big music festival in New Orleans. Usually it's held in spring. They could not hold anything in spring 2020. They did not hold anything in spring 2021. But they said, hey, we're going to run in October 2021 instead.
Yeah. They
were supposed to run from the 8th through the 17th. To give you an idea of how big of a festival this is. That's a 9-day window there. Anyone who doesn't want to do the maths. They have postponed until April 29th. So they pushed back until spring 2. And that is right in the middle of haunt season. And I want to be clear, not only do we, as in home haunters that are us, have anywhere near the resources of Jazz Fest, neither do any of the pro haunts.
As far as we know.
As far as we know. I mean, maybe they're holding wealth, we don't know, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. And also we have seen one more cancellation with the Scream Park.
Oh, yes. Scout Island Scream Park.
Scout Island Scream Park.
They announced early on they were not running this year.
Yes, I found that out after the news last week.
Yeah. And that one's a bit weird to me because if you had asked me about New Orleans haunts that might be COVID safe and COVID able to open, Scout Island would literally be number 1 because it is primarily an outdoor festival and most of the attractions are outdoors.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but they also they are trying to appeal to families, and they have a bigger, younger audience than even comes to us.
And they also have a relationship with City Park, who typically plays host to it. And so that project is kind of a team between them.
And we have had a couple of listeners reach out to us and say that their haunts have canceled too.
Yeah, so we are seeing cancellations already, and that isn't terribly a surprise. So here's our situation right now. We have been ready since January 2020. We could have been ready for the 2019 season, but we were closed that season because of road work. We were closed 2020 because of COVID, and then Hurricane Zeta. Seriously, fuck you, Zeta.
Yes.
If for some reason a hurricane is in the afterlife listening to this podcast, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, fuck you. And now 2021 is not looking super good. Luckily, the one advantage we do have is we can be ready relatively quick.
Yes.
It'll take some time to get the queue line and the outdoor stuff in check. We'll need a few weekends. But the haunt itself has been built. There's no builds that have to be done.
No.
We just have to clean up, move stuff out, get stuff cleaned out and ready to go. We can probably be open in a few weekends.
Yeah, there's a little, I've been walking through this place now for 2 years, so there's a few details that I want to add, but, that can be done in a weekend.
But this isn't a situation where we need 12 months to do a build, like oftentimes is the case.
No.
So we can be open pretty quick. So we get to delay our decision fairly late, all things considered. But we still need to be able to make our decision about 3 to 4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Because mid-September is the target date for a firm decision, yes or no. Because that is when we start printing flyers and start doing promotion online and offline. And it's also when we need to invest money and resources and energy into the haunt and the queue line.
Exactly.
And right now, we've been talking about it for much of the day. We've put our chances at opening around 25%.
Yeah.
And part of the problem we face is we are a home haunt. Therefore, we don't get to strike those great deals with the city and the state that pro haunts do. We are held underneath restrictions imposed by the city, just blanket.
Right, and for private parties.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we have members of our haunt crew that aren't comfortable being in crowds yet. And I don't know where we're going to find people to work it, honestly.
Yeah. We have some serious issues in terms of our crew, in terms of our audience, that pro haunts in this area don't have as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're feeling pretty put out here, and honestly, the mood right now is pretty sour. We're hoping for a miracle. We're hoping that these cases trend downward fast, but it would take a pretty much immediate downward trend to even give us a hope of opening, and I'm not anticipating that. I think my 25% is an optimist.
I think so, and I think that we should get into the reasons why that's an optimistic view.
Yeah, so let's get into it then. Let's do this episode. We're about halfway done with our time. We might as well actually do the actual subject of the podcast now. So yeah, who's experiencing deja vu?
Yeah, no kidding.
Basically, we had a period of record low COVID numbers between May and into July, well into July there.
Right.
But last week, if we look at it on a national scale here, we had the most new cases since late January, which was on the downslope from the big peak, the monstrous peak that happened through November to January. So, yeah, and this is all according to the CDC. The all-time peak was hit January 6, 2021. Actually,
right. And October 29th last year, there were 21,000 new cases.
But
this week,
this week,
there are 122,000 cases.
For those that are too drunk or too stoned to do the math, that's over about 6 times the amount.
Yeah, it's 101,000. It's 101,000 more.
So yeah, this time last year, so we're talking the first few weeks of August, there were about 52,000 cases, which is more than double. Basically, we have more than double now. That's ridiculous.
It is.
By every metric, we are doing worse than we were this time last year, which should not be the case.
It shouldn't be.
And also, to make matters even worse in terms of worrying, this time last year, the trend was still downward. Early August on into September, we were on a downward slope. Now we are on a very decidedly upward slope.
Yeah.
And you have some states like Florida, that are legitimately breaking per week records of the whole goddamn pandemic. They are worse now than they've ever been at any point in this pandemic's history.
Yeah, and that points to,
A lot of things.
points to a lot of things, but it also is a reminder that this is a regional thing. So whenever you're thinking about this, look at your region, and we'll get into that later too.
Yeah, we're talking about national numbers other than what we said about Florida.
Yeah.
But on the whole, we're talking about national numbers, so know what your region is doing, and there is some good news.
Yeah.
The first is that deaths remain low. Very low, in fact. The vaccines are working. They are preventing serious illness and death, and treatment of COVID has improved. The vaccines, though, I think are the star here.
Yeah, definitely.
But treatment has also improved. Last week we have reports on death reporting is delayed beyond COVID cases for a lot of reasons, but there were just 1,200 people who died, and for the record, going back 1 year at this time, it was about 5 times that. Even though we technically had fewer cases, more deaths were happening. But yet, still, in spite of that, hospitals are full in many places. I'd read last week the entire state of Mississippi, the entire state, had just 6 ICU beds available, full stop.
Yeah, and I know that New Orleans is in a similar
Yeah.
situation.
And North Shore here, that encompasses it's not Orleans Parish, it's stuff north of Lake Pontchartrain from us. They were in a situation where they had no ICU beds at any of the hospitals on the North Shore. They were sending people to New Orleans for treatment.
That's insane.
So, yeah, and that's not a short drive. Anyone who has driven from New Orleans to the North Shore will tell you that is not a quick trip.
No.
So yeah, hospitals are full, and in response to that, restrictions are coming back into effect in many places. Honestly, if they are not, they probably should be.
Mm-hmm.
I know here in Louisiana, there's a statewide mask mandate in effect now.
Yes.
And Orleans Parish has begun implementing its own restrictions as well. So that is happening. Basically, events, planned returns to the office, and other things are being postponed. I know Ellie's work. She works for a major bank. They were supposed to have full return to the office pretty much today.
Mm-hmm.
It's been postponed another quarter, another 3 months.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that my position hasn't been postponed yet to return to work. I was in the office for the first full week last week.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that too.
But I may get there Monday and see that, I don't have to be in the actual office.
Until like January or some shit.
Yeah.
And that's been what's happening. And I think for your office, working at a university, it makes sense to postpone to January because that puts that holiday break in there and it lets everyone see what happens in the winter.
It does.
So this raises the thorny question, what does this mean for the haunt season? We're going to talk about the bad news first, and we're going to talk about some good news. Hopefully leave everyone feeling a little bit happy on the way out of the door, right?
That's what we're going to try to do.
I don't know how successful we're going to be, but we're going to try, right? Well, first, the bad news. There is a lot of uncertainty right now. If you had asked me a month ago, with the numbers and the hospitalization and their totals where they were, I would say we are a lock for a great haunt season. It's going to be baller. It's going to be amazing. We're going to open up like ain't nobody's business and get crowds like ain't nobody seen. It's going to be amazing. And in 4 weeks, that shit got turned right around.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we were telling people whenever they would call to see if we were open today.
Yeah.
Is that, no, we will be open at the end of October. But now, maybe not.
I worry about haunts that have early opening dates. Some haunts open early in September, often for a weekend. We have some haunts opening next week for Friday the 13th. Also my birthday, I might add.
Yes.
But we have some haunts opening for that. But haunts that have those early to mid-September opening dates, they're the ones in most immediate jeopardy. And so the thing is this: we don't know if we're reaching a peak, and we have seen just about the peak of this third wave, or if it's going to continue. Because if you look at the chart of COVID infections over time, there was the first wave, like in March of 2020, right as things started taking up, and we went into lockdown, we squashed it, we did what we could. We're already above that peak in March. We're already at or above roughly that peak. And so if we do the things and we squash the peak and that's the end of it, then we can still have a great haunt season. But that's not what I'm hearing from doctors, paramedics, medical experts, and people that actually work in the field. I've spoken to a lot of people and read a lot of articles from doctors and experts on this who are not confident that will happen.
Yeah, and the reason is that the Delta variant's much more contagious.
Yeah. It's been described, according to a leaked CDC memo, as being as contagious as the chickenpox.
Yeah.
Anyone who has seen how chickenpox will spread among a class full of children knows exactly what's up.
No.
And it can be spread by the vaccinated and unvaccinated people. The thing is, the vaccines are still very, 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 very effective at preventing hospitalization and death.
Yeah.
The point of this is simple. You will not get seriously ill if you are vaccinated, but you may still get it, and you may get it enough to pass it on to others, including the unvaccinated and those who are unvaccinated and frail.
Yeah.
The analogy I heard about this that I love is compare the vaccine to a bulletproof vest. We're in a gunfight. Bullets are flying. You're offered a bulletproof vest. Do you wear it? Well,
yes.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Getting shot with a bulletproof vest on sucks. It hurts. It is going to be probably the worst part of that day. But would you rather get shot without one?
No.
That is the alternative. You know, if we're in the middle of a gunfight and I offer you a bulletproof vest, are you going to take it? Obviously, yes. That is what a vaccine is in this situation. It doesn't guarantee this isn't going to suck. It doesn't guarantee it won't hurt. It doesn't guarantee you won't be out for a day or two. But it does make it very, very, very unlikely you will be hospitalized, and most importantly, you unlikely to be dead from it.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We need to reduce those hospital admissions, because I had a medical procedure a few weeks ago. Minor. It was mostly testing. Nothing to worry about. But I nearly didn't get it because of COVID.
Yeah.
People were taking up hospital beds, and there was a concern they might not have room for me at the hospital because of COVID.
Yeah. Because
that's bananas.
It is.
And so,
because if people had gotten vaccinated, it wouldn't be a problem.
And this is how you not getting vaccinated or someone not getting vaccinated can impact my health, even though I am vaccinated, is because now there aren't hospital beds for routine procedures that I need to keep my health in check.
Exactly.
So get your goddamn vaccine. We're going to harp on that a lot. That's not going to be a recurring thing. But anyways, so here are a few things we're telling haunts right now to do ahead of the 2021 season. You want to take the first one?
Sure.
I've been talking way too goddamn much. Sorry about that.
Anticipate that we're going to see regulations late. This happened last year. It was like, oh yeah, there's that thing that happens.
Our thing. Jesus Christ, what are we going to do with those?
Yeah. You know, we're such a small industry that they just forget about us until, it's too late. And a lot of haunts last year had opened for their first weekends before, they got mandates and regulations put on them.
In Illinois, I know, that opened and then got hit with the, haunted houses can't open mandate.
There were ones here.
Yeah. And there were ones here that opened and then got hit with new mandates in terms of restrictions of the size and the people that could have on property. And then they had to go and try to fight those or change those. So, yeah, just assume that we're going to get hit with regulations, but they may be even after opening weekend.
Yeah.
We witnessed this firsthand last year. It sucked. It was rough, but we don't have lobbyists. We're not in front of mind of politicians.
No.
The rule makers do not give a flying fuck about this industry. And I mean that with all the obscenity I applied. They do not care about us. And the result of that is it's going to be when there are these mammoth crowds at a haunted attraction, when there, God help us, there's a shooting or some other bad incident at a haunted house, that politicians go, well, we gotta regulate this.
No.
And they're going to do it after you open. So just assume we're not going to get guidance from the government until it's way late.
Yep.
Sorry. Once again, depressing bits in the beginning. Please hang around. We promise to try to end on a happy note. The second one is, I think, pitifully obvious, but it has to be said. Do not undo your COVID protocols from last year. Hopefully the Keebler elves or some kind of fairy did not visit your haunt and tear down all that work you had done on COVID protocols last year. Keep those up. Keep them in place. They are easier to... If a miracle happens and we get a normal haunt season, great. They're easier to take down than they are to put back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And remember, it's not just your customers and not just your queue line, but also think about your actors' spaces, your break rooms, your makeup chairs, all that stuff too. Keep that in mind. We did an excellent... Well, we didn't do shit. Chris Gay did all the heavy lifting in this episode. We just sat there and listened and nodded our heads. Like
yes,
smart.
that sounds great.
Yes, sir, that sounds brilliant. Chris Gay, episode 225, talking about how to prevent virus outbreaks in haunts. Excellent episode. One of my favorite we've done. Go back and re-listen to that.
Okay, number 3. Be prepared to implement vaccination policies.
Oh boy, this is going to cause some shit.
I know. I don't know why I'm having trouble talking tonight, but I am. Many areas are requiring proof of vaccination or a recent COVID test, as we were just talking about at the beginning of this podcast with the Bourbon Festival, for entrance into gatherings. Haunts are probably going to need to do the same thing.
A lot of haunts will.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. Even if it's not planned right now, not something you want to implement or not something you care to implement right now, unless this is going to be your deal breaker or you're just going to close down and fuck off after this is implemented, what I would do right now is put a policy into place to how you're going to do this.
Yeah, because this is going to take extra staff, most likely.
Yeah.
It's going to take a verified way to, check the paperwork.
Where's your choke point to catch people as they're coming in? Who are the people that are going to do it? How are you going to verify it? Get all that stuff in writing now.
Yeah, and right now there is actually a list in New Orleans of places that are requiring vaccinations for you to go to them. This is restaurants and bars. And you know what? We feel safe going to those places.
Yeah. So seriously, take a minute and just plan for this possibility. Maybe not an inevitability, but plan for this possibility. Get the plan in place now. So that way, if after opening night, those regulations come down and say, oh yeah, you're going to be required to present proof of vaccination or a recent COVID test before going into an attraction. Boom. You're ready. You flip the switch. You're done.
Right. And that information of whether or not you're going to do that should be before people buy tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. In Louisiana, this is actually fairly easy.
It is.
I hate to think that Louisiana may be ahead of the curve on some of this, but it absolutely is. We have an app in this state, the Louisiana ID app. It functions as our driver's license pretty much everywhere. The only place it doesn't work is casinos, apparently, because that has some federal rules and stuff.
Yeah, and they get to choose whether or not they accept it. Yeah. So it depends on the casino itself.
But still, not necessarily guaranteed to work at a casino, but if you get pulled over by a cop on a highway, if you need to buy liquor at a bar or a gas station or whatever, it works.
Yeah.
And it also carries our COVID information, our COVID vaccination status.
Oh, yes, now I passed it to you.
Yeah, no, you've given me the fucking EBGBs. Thanks a lot. The fucking can't talkies. No, but it carries our vaccination status too. It gives a QR code so it can be quickly validated. It is so great and so easy. We just used it today to get free beer.
We did.
It was awesome. So basically, make sure you get this plan today. Work on it right now, just in case it happens.
Yes, and also make sure that in that plan there is a way to deal with people who get belligerent about the policy.
Absolutely.
So they just show up and they say, oh, I didn't know anything about that.
This is a HIPAA violation. Hey, no, it's not.
Yeah. You would know.
I would know. I actually wrote the common man's guidelines to following HIPAA for providers for Medicare or Medicaid services back when HIPAA came into effect. This is randomly true shit about me.
Yeah, it's another lifetime. But
this
yeah.
was another lifetime ago, but I actually did. So I know probably the HIPAA regulations better than 99.99% of people actually in the medical field.
Yeah.
Not even joking. But anyways, number 4, prepare how you're going to enforce masking policies. This is very similar. Expect masking policies to be in effect. It's very likely. Make sure you have the protocol in place. Take time to look at the policies you had last year. Look at the weaknesses, the failures, and how you can improve them. Now is the time to do it.
Yeah, and if you didn't do a post-mortem after last year, why not?
Yeah, why not? Do it now.
Yeah, do it now. Do a pre-mortem for this year.
The best time to do the post-mortem was obviously November 1st or whenever the last day was.
Right.
The next best time is today.
Exactly.
Get on that.
All right. Number 5. Research or keep time ticketing systems. Because, yes, and please make them work the way they're supposed to work.
If I can buy tickets on site to go in your haunt as I arrive randomly, it's not a time ticketing system. I got bad news.
Exactly. So keep those subscriptions going. Use the time ticketing tools. And be prepared for regulations after you open.
Yeah.
Know how you're going to refund tickets if you have to close because of COVID.
Yeah, be thinking about this now. Basically, what I want haunts to do is have a means. I'm not necessarily saying they have to do it. We don't know what the next few months are going to bring.
Yeah.
The whole point is to, much like Scar in The Lion King, be prepared. I'll never sing again, I promise. But no, be prepared, because you may be required to enforce very strict time ticketing protocols. If you know how you're doing it now. It makes life so much easier.
It does.
And that brings us to number 6. I would personally, this is a personal one I put in there, I would postpone any major renovations or changes. I know this is the time of year haunts are looking at what can we change or upgrade in a lot of cases. Many of them have already started. But other haunts may be looking at doing those changes now. Now is not a great time.
No.
Look, I get it. Lumber prices have finally dropped significantly. They're not back where they should be.
No.
But they are on their way
They're
down.
not. Yeah.
So many haunts are like, goody, we get to build things.
Yeah.
Maybe, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hit your wait a minute button on that one. Yeah, basically, I would encourage haunts, maintain or grow your liquidity. Don't spend money on renovations when you may not be able to get that money back in terms of ticket sales. Especially if you're forced to close, or especially if you're forced to severely restrict the number of people who can come. Just understand that this is going to be a year where things might be tight, so spending that money now could cost you later.
Yeah. And next is look into expansion into virtual and individual events. You know, we've done several episodes on how to incorporate virtual experiences and how to make them special for guests and how to make you money off of them. You know, you don't have to do virtual for free. Virtual experiences are still worth something.
Yeah, make people pay for those. Jesus Christ, it's not that difficult. Yeah, but basically look for ways that you can add these events. I am actually really keen. One of the things, we have not done an escape room in over a year now.
Right.
And I'm a little bit pissed off about it, because this has been our best opportunity to do an escape room the way we want to do it, which is private, by ourselves, and with no fucking Tonys ruining the goddamn room. You know what you did, Tony. If you're listening to this, you know how horrible you are.
Yeah.
T-O-N-I. Because of course it's Tony with an I. Is this fucking terrible in an escape room. You know what you did.
Anyway.
Yes, I still hold a grudge. I will always hold a grudge. Your name may be the last words I speak on my deathbed. because you've earned that much vitriol from me. But nonetheless, right now escape rooms are offering private rooms where you don't go with anybody else.
Right. Just your group.
Just your group that you come with. And so we get to pick a group of people that we know, we trust, we know they're vaccinated, we know they're not, licking doorknobs and stuff and doing stupid COVID shit. So we can bring them and have just that room and know that it's been sanitized between us and the previous group.
Yeah.
So we really should have done an escape room this year. We really should have, but we haven't. So yeah, but look for opportunities like that. How can you offer private shows? How can you do virtual things that can be experienced digitally, etc.?
Right. And that's actually one of the things that happened on campus last year for the theater majors who were graduating, because they have to act in a play, a one-person play. So they did one person audience.
Wow, that sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I would have actually enjoyed to go to one of those. I'll sit there in the middle of the lines and watch
exactly. That
Bubba
was
or whatever do his.
Yeah, I mean they had to perform for one person because of COVID.
And I'll say this, as a performer, that is hard.
Exactly.
That's really fucking hard.
Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty innovative way to have them do the performance they needed to graduate and also keep an audience, at least of some kind.
Yeah. No, that's
and
great.
They had to create a whole new experience because it was targeted at one person.
I think that's awesome, actually. That sounds really cool, and I would have enjoyed seeing some of those.
Yeah, I found out about it too late.
Yeah, but no, I mean, absolutely, I would love to have seen that and gone to that. That's awesome. So if it happens again this semester, I want to go to one.
Okay.
I'll
keep
go to
my eye out.
random Susie or Jake or whoever's performance. I don't care. I'll go to it, and I'll sit there, and I'll dress, to my nines, and I'll sit there, and I'll watch this show.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It would be.
So anyways, but yeah, if you're looking to invest in your haunt this year, though, this is the direction. These kinds of experiences they were really popular last year. We actually covered a lot in the news, and a lot of them made some serious crazy bank too. So
yeah, and we've already seen that the drive-through haunts are going to be doing this thing again. Yeah.
We've already did that in the last news episode. That was
at least at least two of them.
292, we covered some drive-through haunts. So yeah. That's going to be a thing. So look, there is some good news through all of this. And that's what I wanted to leave y'all on as I wrote these notes. So the first thing is this. If haunts are able to open this year and they are able to have a relatively normal season, once again, praying hands emoji here, get your vaccine, we're expecting record crowds. And maybe even beyond record crowds.
No.
Last year, some haunts had their busiest years, though I am uncomfortable saying that because no haunt really should have. There should have been controls and limitations on the number of people coming. But a lot of haunts, even with some of those limitations, still had their busiest years.
Right.
There is a lot of pent-up demand right now for in-person events. And haunts are an event that are inherently more safe than like a concert or movie theater. Because with a haunt, you're walking through something.
Right.
For a concert or a movie, you're going to sit on your ass for 3 hours breathing the same air as other disgusting people.
Yeah, or be like close proximity to people who are yelling,
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you put those things in place last year so that actors remain 6 feet away.
And have shields and have masks and things like that. Yeah. A haunt is safer than a concert, a sporting event, or a movie or anything else where you would go and just sit on your keister around other disgusting human beings.
Yeah, because we all are.
We all are. That's not a commentary on the human beings around you. It's just an acknowledgement that human beings are inherently disgusting creatures.
Yeah.
And we should feel bad because we are disgusting creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are real advantages from a safety standpoint of going to a haunt versus other in-person events, and it's much easier to make those events safer if you didn't rip out all your COVID stuff on an impulse.
Exactly.
Next item. And
outdoor attractions in particular may shine with this.
Oh, yes.
We're actually considering going to one. Outdoor is considered safer. It's usually less regulated. People are more comfortable outdoors. I know that's true for me. Even now, we tend to go to places where we can sit outside, more room to spread out. Social distancing is less of a problem.
Yeah. And the main thing is, like, when you're indoors, whether you've got ceiling fan or air conditioning or whatever, you have directional airflow.
Right.
So that means you've got like a vent there, it's blowing air this way. If the person over there has COVID, it can blow a long distance onto other tables. But if you're outdoors, there's no directional airflow. The airflow is swirling around you. It's mixed. It's going to be more localized. And that's a good thing for outdoor attractions because they have that basically on offer permanently.
Yeah.
The next item is that we all have practice.
Yeah.
Last year, we were running around like chickens with our head cut off trying to figure out what we were going to do.
Exactly.
This year, we have at least some practice. We at least know better now than we did a year ago at this time. So we have a playbook. We know the weaknesses. We can come together and address those issues. If we just use our goddamn brains for 5 minutes, we can figure this out.
Yeah. And the vaccines are working.
Yeah.
As we talked about earlier, death rates are lower and hospitalizations have reduced overall among the vaccinated. Many in particular urban ones have very high vaccination rates. Orleans Parish is at nearly 53%. But some of the nearby parishes are closer to 30,
Yeah.
you know?
They're barely cracking 30. Both numbers need to be higher. We need to be in the 70s and 80s in order to have real herd, quote-unquote, herd immunity. But still, the numbers in some urban areas look really, really good and are really impressive.
Yeah.
So basically, look up your local figures and be sure to think about that 50-mile rule we discussed previously. That's how far people will be likely coming from your haunt.
Yeah.
And know what you're dealing with in your neighboring areas.
Yeah, and I would even expand that to 100 miles.
Yeah. Well, I know I looked at the map for Louisiana, and it was really interesting because you had good vaccination rates, or solid vaccination rates at the very least, in like Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish right next to us. And if you followed I-10 between New Orleans and Baton Rouge toward the center of the state,
Yeah.
it was bing, bang, bong, bong. Every parish between hither and yon there was perfect. Now, once you got past Baton Rouge, shit went sideways in a hurry. Mm-hmm. But in our 100-mile radius, we're actually not doing that bad.
Right.
Terrebonne Parish, I mentioned that in notes, was the worst I could find in the 100-mile radius. And it's a super, super rural parish. It's got Homa in it.
Yeah.
Which, what's the thing you do if you're living for fun? If you live in Homa, go to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone knows that. But yeah, Homa is the big town there, and it's not a big town by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
So, yeah, that was my exception I could find in that 50 to 100 mile radius. Mm-hmm. And there's still reason to hope for a good season this year. The vaccines are ticking up now as people are getting scared of this Delta variant. But ultimately, this is up to us.
Yeah.
This really and truly is up to us, not me or Crystal or you personally, but us as a community. Mm-hmm. Last year at this time, we were basically tied to the railroad tracks as the train of COVID was coming onto us.
Yeah, and we had been saying for months, stay indoors, try to save Halloween to stay indoors. And I think that the message got out too late. And I think that that's what's happening this year too, is that
but
people are
those
waiting.
Tools, as good as they were not perfect for fighting COVID.
No.
COVID was a much bigger bear. And now we have a pretty significant tool. We have vaccines. You have something you can go and do today if you have not already done it. That can better protect not only you personally, but your community against COVID and help save this haunt season.
Yes, and you'll be completely vaccinated if you get
the first shot
now.
If you get your first shot now, whether it's the J&J, whether the Pfizer or the Moderna, all of them, it's about 6 weeks to full vaccination after that first injection.
Yeah.
You may have to get a second shot with the Pfizer and the Moderna, but no matter which shot you get, it's 6 weeks to vaccination. If you get it today, we're speaking about this on August 8th, and it'll go live August 9th, you will be fully vaccinated for haunt season.
Yeah.
This is the last plea we get, though. Please, please, please. Whatever may be holding you back, if you are listening to this and you are not vaccinated, you are holding out for whatever reason, please, please, please get vaccinated. I am asking you. I am downright begging you.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is simple. We know for a fact that the side effects of the vaccine are less than that of COVID. And the
Yes.
dangers of the vaccine are less than that of COVID.
Yes.
Even if you are young and healthy otherwise, it is still, your odds are much, much better if you get vaccinated. Think of it as that bulletproof vest. Yeah, it sucks to wear a bulletproof vest. I get it. No one wants to do what I did and go to the convention center in New Orleans and get a vaccine. And
Right.
you went to fucking Walmart. And
I
got it.
did.
And Ellie went to the nice VA hospital because, well, the VA had it first. I mean, that's just it.
Exactly.
They had it first. That was her first opportunity, and she got it before either of us.
Mm-hmm.
Please, please, please get the vaccine if you at all can. Whatever's holding you back, now is the time to get over it. Now is the time to realize that this is not a me thing, a you thing. It is an us thing. We are all in this together, whether we want to be or not. And believe me, looking at a lot of people out there, I don't want to be in this with a lot of the other people out there, but I can't help the fact that we are. So please. And if you do open your haunt, only open it if it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
Make sure you have protocols in place to handle the COVID-related challenges, including outbreaks among your staff. We didn't mention that.
Right.
But knowing what to do and what your policies are, if there is a COVID outbreak, is important.
Yeah, and make sure that they know that if they are sick or not feeling well at all, don't freaking come in.
Yeah. Understand that many of the challenges that are COVID related are not directly related to disease. There's going to be crowds. Mm-hmm. There's going to be people who are angry and angsty.
Yeah, and this might be one of the years to think about those perfect attendance awards, because perfect attendance is not the best option if somebody's going to come in sick.
Yeah, if someone gets sick with or anything else, honestly.
Yeah, anything.
And they don't show up because they don't want to get anyone else sick, they're doing you a favor. They're not cowarding out or powdering out. They're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
They're helping you. They are sacrificing for you, and removing a reward for that sucks.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Be smart. Err on the side of caution. Help protect your community. Please, 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 please. That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
Just realize that this isn't us thing. So on that note, we did ask a question of the audience this week, and that question was, how has the resurgence of COVID impacted haunt plans? And we had a few answers.
We did.
What are those answers?
All right. Pete Blackwell said, I am psyched. Found out today that after 2 years, haunt is reopening. It had better not affect this year. We're supposed to reopen.
I hope it is too. I hope you're able to reopen. God damn it, encourage people to get that vaccine.
Yeah, we're in the same spot, we hope.
Exactamundo, 2 years even the same number of years.
Yeah, and I know I cobbled two of your comments together there.
But it was pretty good calls.
Christian Risto says, hasn't yet.
Cross
And,
fingers emoji.
well, scared-faced emoji.
Yeah, and
So-
I think that's an appropriate emoji. Sorry, I thought it was cross fingers, but you're right. It's scared face emoji. I understand that emoji.
Yeah.
I respect that emoji.
And Victor Ruelas says that haunt plans will not change from last year and will not require proof of vaccination.
Okay.
Yep.
That's where we are. And like I said, just understand that may change, not because of anything you want to do, but because of local regulations.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're going to be the last to be regulated. We're going to get regulated after we open. I know it happened last year. It'll happen again. So just be prepared. I mean, honestly, Scar was the best Boy Scout ever. Be prepared. Well, I said I wouldn't do it again. But anyways, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for joining us for the past hour. We greatly appreciate you putting up with us and listening as we talk about some pretty depressing things, but hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this was useful. Mm-hmm. You can check out more Haunt Weekly at hauntweekly.com or Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook. YouTube.com/Haunt Weekly is the YouTube channel. Every single episode we've ever done is available there. Check it out. You can also catch us on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, anywhere that you get your podcast from. And please, 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 Facebook.com/Haunt Weekly, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday. Join us live. We'd love to have you be a part of the conversation. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this has been Haunt Weekly, episode 297, looking ahead to the 2021 haunt season. We will see you all next week.